It was one of those nights. The kind where the rain doesn't just fall. It attacks. Relentless. Loud. Unforgiving. The wind howled against the windows like it was trying to force its way inside. Inside a small, quiet apartment. Arif sat alone. The soft glow of a lamp lit the corner of the room. Everything else was wrapped in shadow. It had been a long day. And all he wanted was silence. Peace. Maybe sleep. But nights like this, they never stay quiet for long. Knock. Arif frowned. At first, he thought he imagined it. But then. Knock. Knock. Louder this time. Urgent. Desperate. He slowly stood up. His eyes shifted toward the door. No one ever came here. Not this late. Not in weather like this. For a moment, he hesitated. Then he walked forward. Each step slow. Careful. Another knock. This one sharper. Almost pleading. Arif reached for the handle. Paused. And then. He opened the door. The cold air rushed in instantly. Along with the sound of pounding rain. And there she was. Standing right outside. A girl. Drenched from head to toe. Her hair clung to her face, water dripping down her skin. Her clothes were soaked through, trembling slightly as the cold wrapped around her. But it wasn't the rain that stood out. It was her eyes. Wide. Fearful. Like she had been running for her life. Please. Her voice barely made it through the storm. I need help. Arif didn't ask questions. Didn't hesitate. He simply stepped aside. Come in. She moved quickly, almost stumbling as she crossed the threshold. The moment she was inside, she turned back. Looking over her shoulder. As if she expected someone to appear behind her at any second. Arif closed the door. The lock clicked. And just like that. The outside world was shut out. For now. She stood there for a second, catching her breath. Water pooling beneath her feet. Her hands were shaking. Not just from the cold. From fear. Arif grabbed a towel and handed it to her. You're safe here, he said quietly. She looked at him. Really looked at him this time. Trying to understand. If she could trust him. My name is Mira, she said softly. Arif. A brief silence followed. Heavy. Uncertain. But not uncomfortable. What happened? He asked. She hesitated. Her grip tightened around the towel. I just need a place to stay tonight. That was it. No explanation. No details. Just a request. And somehow. It was enough. Arif nodded. Okay. No pressure. No interrogation. Just acceptance. Mira's shoulders dropped slightly. Like the weight she had been carrying. Eased, even if only a little. She took a few steps further inside. Her eyes slowly scanning the space. The apartment was small. Simple. One couch. A table. A single bedroom visible through the half-open door. And then. She saw it. The bed. Just one. She froze. Her expression changed instantly. The fear came back. Stronger this time. There's only one bed, she said quietly. Arif followed her gaze. Then looked back at her. I don't feel safe, she added, her voice barely above a whisper. For a second. The room went completely still. Then Arif moved. Without a word. Without hesitation. He walked to the closet, pulled out a blanket, and spread it across the floor. Right there. next to the bed. He adjusted it casually, like it was the most normal thing in the world. Then he looked up at her. "I'm here," he said simply. "You take the bed." Mira blinked. Once. Twice. Like she wasn't sure what she had just seen. No argument. No awkwardness. No hidden intention. Just respect. Real. Unfiltered. Unexpected. "Are you sure?" she asked. Arif gave a small shrug. "I'll be fine." Something shifted in her eyes. Not completely. Not yet. But enough. Enough to breathe. Enough to sit down. She slowly walked toward the bed and sat on the edge. Still cautious. Still alert. But no longer alone. Arif turned off the main light, leaving only the soft lamp glowing. The room dimmed. The storm outside grew louder. Thunder cracked across the sky. Rain hit the windows like 1,000 tiny impacts. Time passed. Quietly. Neither of them spoke. Mira lay down, but her eyes stayed open. Staring at the ceiling. Listening. Every sound. Every movement. Every breath. Arif lay on the floor, one arm under his head, staring into the darkness. Aware. Alert. Ready. Because something about this night didn't feel normal. And then. Knock. The sound cut through everything. Sharp. Sudden. Both of them froze. Mira sat up instantly. Her breath caught in her throat. Her eyes filled with fear again. "No," she whispered. Her hands started trembling. That might be him." Arif slowly pushed himself up. His expression changed. Calm. But focused. "Stay here," he said. His voice steady. Controlled. He walked toward the door. Each step deliberate. Measured. Behind him, Mira held onto the edge of the bed like it was the only thing keeping her grounded. The knock came again. Louder. More aggressive. Arif reached the door. His hand hovered over the handle. For a moment. Everything went silent. The storm. The fear. The thoughts. All paused. Right there. He took a breath. And slowly. He opened the door. The door opened slowly. Carefully. As if even the smallest sound might trigger something waiting on the other side. Arif stood still for a moment, his hand gripping the handle, his eyes scanning the hallway. Empty. No footsteps. No shadows moving. No sign of anyone. Just a long, dim corridor lit by flickering overhead lights. The kind of silence that didn't feel peaceful. It felt wrong. Heavy. Like something had just been there. And left. Arif stepped forward slightly, leaning out just enough to look both ways. Left. Nothing. Right. Still nothing. Only the distant hum of electricity and the faint echo of rain hitting the building from outside. He narrowed his eyes. Listening. Waiting. But whoever, or whatever, had knocked. Was gone. Slowly, he closed the door. The lock clicked again. This time, louder. Final. When he turned around. Mira was no longer lying on the bed. She was sitting in the corner, her knees pulled tightly to her chest, arms wrapped around them like a shield. Her breathing was uneven. Shallow. Her eyes were fixed on the door. He's close. Her voice was barely a whisper. I can feel it. Arif didn't dismiss it. Didn't question her fear. Because fear like that didn't come from imagination. It came from experience. Instead of asking questions, he walked quietly into the kitchen. Opened a cabinet. Took out a mug. The simple, normal sound of it, ceramic touching wood, cut gently through the tension. He turned on the stove. The soft flame flickered to life. In the silence of the apartment, even that small warmth felt important. Grounding. Real. A few minutes later, he returned. Holding a cup of tea. Steam rising slowly into the air. He placed it near her, close enough to reach, but not forcing her to take it. "Drink this," he said gently. "You're safe here." Safe. The word hung in the air. Mira stared at the cup. Then at him. As if she was trying to decide whether that word meant anything anymore. Slowly. She reached for it. Her fingers trembled as they wrapped around the warmth. The heat spread through her hands. Then her arms. Then somewhere deeper. Arif didn't sit next to her. He didn't move closer. Instead, he returned to the floor. The same place he had chosen before. Maintaining distance. Giving her space. Not just physically. But emotionally. And that mattered more than anything. Outside, thunder rolled again. Low. Distant. But powerful. The lights flickered once. Twice. Then steadied. Mira flinched slightly. Her eyes darting toward the window. Every sound still felt like a threat. Every shadow. Like it could move. Minutes passed. Slowly. Quietly. The kind of silence where thoughts grow louder. And fears begin to speak. A sudden crack of thunder split through the sky. And the lights went out. Darkness swallowed the room instantly. Mira gasped. Her breath quickened. No, no, no. Her voice trembled. The darkness wasn't just absence of light. For her. It was memory. Panic. Fear. Without thinking, she moved. Quickly. Instinctively. Toward him. Arif. Her voice was soft. Uncertain. "Can I sit here?" Arif shifted slightly, adjusting the blanket. Creating space beside him. But not too close. "Of course." His voice stayed calm. Steady. Like nothing had changed. Even though everything had. Mira sat down beside him. Close enough to feel less alone. Far enough to feel safe. Her breathing slowly began to steady. The storm outside continued. But inside. Something was different. There was no pressure. No expectation. No hidden tension. Just presence. And for someone like her. That meant everything. A few moments later, the lights flickered back on. Soft light returned to the room. Mira blinked, adjusting. And for the first time. She really looked at him. At the way he sat. Relaxed, but aware. Calm, but ready. He wasn't trying to impress her. Wasn't trying to get closer. Wasn't even looking at her in a way that made her uncomfortable. He was just there. And somehow. That made him different. After a long silence, she finally spoke. "Why are you being so kind to me?" The question came out quietly. But it carried weight. Arif glanced at her briefly. Then looked ahead again. Thinking. Choosing his words carefully. "Because it looks like you needed someone to be simple. Honest. No hidden meaning. No conditions." Mira felt something tighten in her chest. Not fear. Something else. Something unfamiliar. Her grip on the cup softened. Her shoulders relaxed. Just a little. For the first time that night. She didn't feel like she had to run. Silence returned. But this time. It wasn't heavy. It was calm. Almost comforting. But peace like that. never lasts forever. Outside, somewhere far in the distance. A car door slammed. Mira stiffened instantly. Her body reacting before her mind could catch up. Arav noticed. "You're okay," he said quietly. But she wasn't listening. Her eyes were fixed on nothing. Lost in something only she could see. Only she could feel. Moments later. A faint vibration broke the stillness. Arav's phone. Lying beside him. Buzzing softly against the floor. Once. Then again. Both of them looked at it. The screen lit up. Unknown number. Arav frowned slightly. He picked it up. For a second, he considered ignoring it. But something about the timing didn't feel right. He unlocked the screen. Opened the message. And everything changed. 3 words. That was all it took. "I'm close." Arav's expression hardened. Not panic. Not fear. Focus. Sharp. Immediate. Mira noticed the shift. Her voice barely came out. What is it?" Arav didn't answer right away. He looked at the door. Then back at the phone. Then at her. And in that moment, the calm they had built cracked. "He found you," Arav said quietly. Mira's face went pale. Her worst fear was no longer a possibility. It was real. And it was coming closer. The room fell into silence. Not the calm kind. Not the safe kind. This silence was heavy. The kind that presses against your chest and makes it harder to breathe. Arav's phone screen slowly dimmed in his hand. But the words stayed. Burned into the moment. "I'm close." Mira didn't move. Couldn't. Her eyes were fixed on the floor, but she wasn't seeing it. She was somewhere else. Somewhere darker. Somewhere she had tried to escape. "He found me." Her voice cracked. Barely holding together. Arav looked at her. Really looked this time. At the fear. The exhaustion. The way her body stayed tense, like it had forgotten how to relax. This wasn't just someone being chased. This was someone who had been running. For a long time. "How?" she whispered. "How did he find me?" Arav didn't answer. Because right now. That question didn't matter. What mattered was what came next. He placed the phone down slowly. Then shifted slightly, turning toward her. "Mira." His voice was calm. Grounded. But firm. "We need to be clear about something." She looked up at him. Her eyes glassy. Fragile. "He's not getting to you tonight." The words were simple. But they carried weight. Certainty. For a moment, she just stared at him. Like she was trying to understand how someone could say something like that. And actually mean it. "Do you even know what he's capable of?" she asked. Arav didn't look away. "No," he said honestly. "But I know what I'm capable of." That answer. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. But it landed. Mira's breathing slowed slightly. Not because the fear was gone. But because something else had entered the room. Trust. Small. Fragile. But real. She pulled her knees closer to her chest. Her fingers tightening around the fabric. "I didn't tell you everything," she said. "You don't have to," Arav replied. But she shook her head. "I do." Because if he was going to stand between her and the danger, he deserved to know what that danger looked like. There was a pause. A long one. As if the words were fighting to come out. Then finally. She spoke. Raghav wasn't always like this. Her voice was quiet. But steady. He was normal at first. A faint, almost bitter smile touched her lips. Charming. Confident. The kind of person everyone liked. Her eyes drifted slightly. Lost in memory. He made me feel special. The word lingered. Heavy with regret. But then things started to change. Arif stayed silent. Letting her speak. He started calling more. Texting constantly. Wanting to know where I was, who I was with, what I was doing. Her grip tightened. At first, I thought it was care. A small, painful laugh escaped her. I didn't realize it was control. The room felt smaller now. The air heavier. He didn't like it when I went out without him. Didn't like my friends. Didn't like anything that didn't include him. Arif's jaw tightened slightly. But he said nothing. He would get angry, over small things. Then apologize. Then promise it wouldn't happen again. Her voice dropped. But it always did. Silence. The kind that follows truth. And when I finally tried to leave. Her breathing faltered. That's when I saw who he really was. Arif's eyes sharpened. He didn't yell, she continued. He didn't beg. She looked up. And the fear in her eyes returned. He smiled. That word alone sent a chill through the room. And then he said. Her voice dropped to a whisper. If you walk away from me, I'll make sure you never feel safe again. The air went cold. Even with the lights on. Even with the storm outside. Nothing felt as heavy as that moment. I thought he was bluffing, she said. I wanted to believe he was just angry. Her hands began to shake again. But then he started showing up, everywhere. Arif leaned forward slightly. Listening carefully. Outside my office. Near my apartment. Even places I never told him about. Her voice broke. I changed my number, he found it. I moved apartments, he found me. I blocked him, he got closer. Tears slipped down her face. I couldn't breathe anymore. The words hit hard. Raw. Unfiltered. I felt like I was disappearing. Arif looked at her. And something inside him shifted. Not just concern. Not just sympathy. Something deeper. Protective. Firm. Unmovable. You're not disappearing, he said quietly. She shook her head. I was. Her voice cracked. Until tonight. That made him pause. She looked at him again. This time differently. Like she wasn't just seeing a stranger anymore. I didn't come here by accident, she admitted. Arif frowned slightly. What do you mean? I saw you once, she said. A few days ago. His expression changed. Confusion. You were helping someone, she continued. An old man. Outside a store. He dropped his groceries. Arif remembered. Barely. It had meant nothing to him. But to her. It had meant everything. You didn't know I was watching, she said. But I saw the way you helped him. Her voice softened. No hesitation. No expectation. A small pause. And when I needed somewhere to run. Her eyes met his. You were the only person I could think of. The weight of that truth settled between them. Arif didn't know what to say. Because that kind of trust. It wasn't small. It wasn't casual. It was everything. Silence followed. But this time. It wasn't empty. It was full. Of understanding. Of connection. Of something growing quietly between them. Mira shifted slightly. Moving closer. Not out of fear this time. But because she wanted to. There was a moment. Soft. fragile, where the distance between them felt smaller than ever. Her hand moved slightly, as if she was about to reach for him, as if she needed something solid to hold on to. But then, a sudden sound cut through everything. A vibration. Sharp. Unexpected. Arif's phone. Again. Both of them froze. He looked down slowly. The screen lit up. Another message. From the same unknown number. This time. Only one sentence. But it changed everything. I'm outside. Mira's breath stopped. Her eyes widened. The fear returned. Stronger than before. Real. Immediate. No longer a memory. No longer a warning. He wasn't coming. He was already there. And this time, there was no running. Only facing what was waiting on the other side of the door. The words hung in the air. I'm outside. For a moment, everything stopped. The storm. The breathing. Even time itself felt like it paused. Just long enough for fear to take hold. Mira's fingers tightened around the fabric of her sleeve. Her entire body went still. Like her instincts were screaming at her to disappear. But there was nowhere left to go. No, she whispered. Her voice barely audible. No, 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 he can't be. But deep down, she already knew. Arif stood up slowly. His movements controlled. Measured. Not rushed. Not panicked. But focused. Sharp. Real. He picked up his phone again. Looked at the message. Then locked the screen. Placed it down. And turned toward the door. Every step he took carried a quiet kind of certainty. Behind him, Mira shook her head. Tears forming in her eyes. Arif, don't open the door. Her voice cracked. Please. He stopped. Just for a second. Then looked back at her. And in that moment, there was no fear in his eyes. Only resolve. I'm not letting him take you, he said. Simple. Direct. Unshaken. A loud thud slammed against the door. Bang. Mira flinched hard. Her breath catching in her throat. Another followed. Louder. More aggressive. Arif. The voice from outside was sharp. Angry. Unstable. I know she's in there. Mira covered her mouth, trying to hold back the sound of her breathing. Her worst fear. Standing just inches away. Open the door, the voice growled. Or I swear I'll break it down. The door shook again under another. Arif stepped forward. Closing the distance. But before he reached the handle, he spoke. Without turning around. Lock the bedroom door. Mira didn't move. She couldn't. Arif. Now. This time, his voice was firmer. Not harsh. But commanding. Grounding. It pulled her out of her fear just enough to move. She stood up quickly, her legs unsteady, and backed toward the bedroom. Her eyes never leaving him. Not even for a second. Another loud hit the door. The wood creaked under the pressure. Hurry up, the voice outside snapped. Mira stepped into the bedroom and shut the door. Her hands trembled as she locked it. The small click echoed in the room. She pressed her back against it. Trying to breathe. Trying to stay quiet. Outside. Everything was about to collide. Arif stood in front of the main door. Still. Calm. Waiting. The banging stopped. Suddenly. The silence that followed was worse. He reached for the handle. Paused. Just for a second. Then pulled it open. The door swung wide. And there he was. Raghav. Standing in the hallway. Rain-soaked. Breathing heavily. His eyes locked instantly onto Arav. Dark. Sharp. Unstable. You took your time, Raghav said coldly. Arav didn't respond. Didn't move aside. Didn't invite him in. The space between them filled with tension. Thick. Unbreakable. Move, Raghav said, his voice low but dangerous. She's not yours to hide. Arav's expression didn't change. She's not yours at all. That was enough. Raghav stepped forward aggressively, trying to push past him. But Arav reacted instantly. He caught his arm mid-motion. Firm grip. Unshaken. Don't, Arav said quietly. But there was weight behind that word. A warning. Clear. Direct. Raghav let out a short, humorless laugh. You think you can stop me? His eyes flicked past Arav, trying to look inside. Trying to find her. You don't even know what you're getting into. Arav's grip tightened slightly. I know enough. Raghav's smile faded. You have no idea who I am. Arav stepped closer. Just slightly. Enough to hold the line. I don't need to. Silence. But not the calm kind. The dangerous kind. The kind right before something breaks. Raghav suddenly shoved him hard. Trying to force his way inside. But Arav didn't fall back. He held his ground. Planted. Solid. The two stood there. Locked in a moment that could go either way. Raghav's anger flared. You're making a mistake, he snapped. She always comes back. His voice dropped. Dark. Possessive. She belongs with me. Arav's eyes hardened. No, he said firmly. She doesn't belong to anyone. That hit something. Something deep. Something unstable. Raghav lunged forward again. But this time, Arav pushed back. Hard. Forcing him out into the hallway. The movement echoed through the building. A nearby door creaked open. Someone peeked out. Then another. Whispers started. Eyes watching. Raghav noticed. His jaw tightened. His anger still there, but now controlled. Calculated. He straightened his posture slightly. Smoothed his expression. But his eyes still burned. This isn't over, he said quietly. More dangerous than before. Because now. He wasn't shouting. He wasn't reacting. He was planning. His gaze shifted once more toward the inside of the apartment. Like he could see through the walls. Like he knew she was there. Watching. Waiting. Afraid. Then finally. He stepped back. Slowly. One step. Then another. Until he turned. And walked away. The hallway swallowed him. But the tension he left behind stayed. Arav stood there for a moment. Listening. Making sure he was really gone. Then he closed the door. Locked it. And exhaled. The apartment fell silent again. But it wasn't the same silence as before. This one carried impact. After a few seconds. The bedroom door opened. Slowly. Carefully. Mira stepped out. Her eyes immediately found him. Is he gone? Arav nodded. For now. That was enough. She rushed forward. Without thinking. Without hesitation. And grabbed his hand. Tightly. Like letting go wasn't an option. Don't leave me, she said. Her voice breaking. Please. Arav looked at her. At the fear still lingering. At the strength it took for her to stand there. And he gently closed his hand around hers. I'm not going anywhere. And this time. He meant it in a different way. Not just for the night. Not just for the moment. But for whatever came next. Because this wasn't over. Not even close. But something had changed. The fear that once controlled her was now facing something stronger. Someone who wouldn't step aside. Someone who wouldn't let her fight alone. And for the first time, Mira wasn't just surviving. She was standing still. Holding on. And beginning to believe she didn't have to run anymore. The apartment was quiet again. But not the same kind of quiet. This one felt different. The storm had passed. The rain that once pounded against the windows had softened into a distant, fading rhythm. Morning was coming. Slowly. Gently. Like the world was trying to reset itself after everything that had happened. A soft glow of sunlight slipped through the curtains, filling the room with warmth. Calm. Stillness. Mira sat on the edge of the bed. Awake. She hadn't slept much. Not because of fear. But because her mind wouldn't stop replaying everything. The knock. The tension. Raghav's voice. And then. Arav. Standing there. Unmoving. Unshaken. Protecting her like it wasn't even a question. Her eyes slowly shifted toward the floor. Arav was still there. Half asleep, lying on the blanket. Exactly where he had been all night. He hadn't moved to the bed. Hadn't taken advantage of the situation. Hadn't crossed a single line. Even after everything. Even after the danger. Even after she had held his hand like she was afraid to let go. He had stayed exactly where he promised he would. That alone said everything. Mira watched him quietly. Studying his face. The calm expression. The steady breathing. There was something about him. Something she couldn't fully explain. But she could feel it. And for the first time in a long time. It didn't scare her. Arav. Her voice was soft. Gentle. Careful not to break the moment. He stirred slightly. Then slowly opened his eyes. It took him a second to adjust. To remember where he was. What had happened. But then he saw her. Sitting there. Looking at him. And he immediately sat up. You okay? The question came naturally. Instinctively. Not forced. Not dramatic. Just real. Mira nodded. I think so. A small pause followed. The kind that wasn't uncomfortable. Just quiet. Honest. She took a breath. Then looked at him again. Last night. Her voice trailed off for a second. Like she was choosing her words carefully. I said I didn't feel safe because there was only one bed. Arav didn't interrupt. He just listened. But that wasn't the truth. That made him pause slightly. She continued. I wasn't scared of the room. Her eyes softened. I was scared of making the same mistake again. The words landed gently. But they carried weight. I thought, if I trusted the wrong person again. Her voice grew quieter. I wouldn't survive it this time. Silence filled the space between them. But this time. It wasn't heavy. It wasn't tense. It was understanding. Arav didn't rush to respond. Didn't try to fix the moment. He just stayed there. Present. Listening. And then you, she said softly. Her gaze met his. Steady. Clear. You didn't ask questions. You didn't push. You didn't make me feel like I owed you anything. Her lips curved into the faintest smile. You just made space. Arav exhaled slowly. Not because he didn't know what to say, but because moments like this weren't meant to be filled with too many words. Are you still scared? He asked gently. Mira looked at him for a second, then shook her head. No. And for the first time, it was true. Not forced. Not pretending. Real. She shifted slightly on the bed, making space. A quiet invitation. You can sit here, she said. Arav hesitated. Not out of fear, but out of respect, making sure the moment wasn't misunderstood. But Mira didn't look uncertain. She didn't look afraid. She looked calm. Certain. And that was enough. He stood up slowly, walked toward the bed, and sat on the very edge. Careful. Maintaining distance. But present. The space between them felt different now. Not guarded. Not fragile. Just natural. A moment passed. Then another. And then Mira reached out, her hand gently finding his, her fingers wrapping around his. Soft. Warm. Intentional. Arav glanced down at their hands, then back at her. She wasn't pulling away. She wasn't unsure. She was choosing this. For the first time, she whispered. I feel safe. The words were quiet, but they echoed louder than anything else that had happened. Arav gently squeezed her hand. Not tightly. Not possessively. Just enough to let her know. He was there. I'm here, he said. And this time, it meant more than just presence. It meant consistency. Trust. Safety. Outside, the sunlight grew stronger, filling the room with warmth. The kind that seeps into everything. The kind that makes things feel possible again. Mira looked toward the window, then back at him. What happens now? She asked. Arav followed her gaze briefly, then looked back at her. We take it one step at a time. No promises. No unrealistic guarantees. Just something real. Something steady. And for her, that was enough. She nodded slowly, as if accepting that answer. As if understanding that safety didn't come from big words. It came from small, consistent actions. Her grip on his hand tightened slightly. Not out of fear, but out of comfort. And for the first time in what felt like forever, she wasn't thinking about running. She wasn't planning an escape. She wasn't looking over her shoulder. She was just there. Present. Calm. Safe. The room stayed quiet. But now, it felt warm. Alive. Full. Because sometimes, safety isn't about locked doors or distance from danger. Sometimes, it's about the person sitting next to you. The one who doesn't move closer unless you want them to. The one who doesn't leave when things get hard. The one who chooses to stay, even when it would be easier to walk away. Mira leaned back slightly, still holding his hand. Still grounded in the moment. And Arav didn't pull away. Didn't question it. Didn't overthink it. He just stayed. Exactly where she needed him to be. And as the sunlight wrapped around them. Soft. Golden. Quiet. One truth became clear. That night was never about the one bed. It wasn't about fear. Or the storm. Or even the danger waiting outside. It was about something much simpler. Something much rarer. Finding someone who makes the world feel quiet again. And for Mira, that's exactly what Arav had become. Not just a stranger who opened the door, Not just someone who offered help, but someone who stayed. Someone who protected. Someone who understood. And in a world where she had learned to run, he became the reason. She finally stopped.